I hear so many people talk about how primitive the original Atari 2600 VCS was. The blocky graphics, the simple sound, and they're right. But they're missing the point completely, because that primitive experience that first hit the scene way back in 1977 was more powerful, more personal, and more creative than almost anything we have today. And in this video, I'm going to show you why. It's time to pay homage to the grandfather of home console gaming, so today we're doing this in two parts. First, we're looking back at some of my favorite games and the pure experiences brought to life in those plastic cartridges. Then, we're taking a closer look at the console itself, and why this blocky black and brown box went beyond simply giving us games. It opened up new horizons, and even gave us a piece of ourselves.
It was the thing that made video games a worldwide phenomenon, that changed the world.
As we get into the games, here's my scene from back in the day. Early 80s, cold basement floor, a scratchy blanket, and that single stick controller with buttons that stuck if you pressed too hard. Outside life had its noise, but down here, this was my command center. The 2600 was an escape hatch, and I'm guessing you had a version of this too, a quiet corner where the real world faded out. Now let's start with Pac-Man. To understand why it mattered, you need to see what you were actually looking at. The iconic arcade maze was a cramped, bluish corridor. The four distinct ghosts were flickering, indistinct blobs. The famous waka waka sound was a tinny, repetitive thump thump. By any objective measure, it was a rough translation. But the gameplay was the anchor. You moved your little yellow circle, ate the dots, avoided the ghosts. Your brain did the incredible work of translating those flickering blocks back into the arcade classic. That was the deal. You traded visual fidelity for pure, unlimited Pac-Man in your living room. It sold over 7 million copies, but it also left a generation of kids squinting at their TVs. I remember thinking, is that a ghost or a piece of toast? Here's the wild thing. In that moment, we didn't care. In my basement, it was my Pac-Man. The magic wasn't in the accuracy, it was in the ownership. And this is where the 2600 taught a tougher lesson. Resilience. You'd fail constantly. But that automatic response of one more try was pure addiction. And where failing a math test in school felt terrible, failing in Pac-Man just made you more determined to beat the next level. Now, Pitfall was an entirely different beast. It was one of the first true platformers. You were Harry, a pixelated explorer swinging on vines over crocodile-infested pits, jumping over rolling logs and scorpions, all against the 20-minute time limit. And the graphics were incredibly detailed for the 2600. You could see Harry's shirt. But the hit detection was merciless. Mistiming a vine swing by a pixel, and you were crocodile food. The jungle felt vast and dangerous. It wasn't just hard, it felt like running for your life just to survive, and get this, David Crane designed Pitfall in about 10 days. 10 days? I spent almost a whole summer just trying to get past that third screen. Jeez. But here's why it stuck. Pitfall Harry was who I wanted to be, brave, an explorer, like Indiana Jones. In my normal life, I didn't feel like that. But with that joystick in my hand, I was the hero. These games gave us avatars. They let us try on different versions of ourselves in the privacy and comfort of our homes. Now, let me tell you about my first taste of road rage, Frogger. I wasn't old enough to drive, but I learned all about traffic the hard way. Here's a fun piece of trivia. The arcade original was Konami, but the Atari version was published by Parker Brothers, the folks that made the old school board game Monopoly. And the gameplay was pure frantic simplicity. You started your frog at the bottom. One screen was a multi-lane highway with speeding cars and trucks you had to dodge. Get past that and you hit the river, hopping on sinking logs and avoiding snakes and alligators. And the controls were super sensitive. One twitch too far, you were roadkill or fish food. It was all about patience, timing, and pure panic. But this is the key. Frogger was a masterclass in transforming emptiness. The long, boring summer afternoon with nothing to do would vanish. Suddenly, I had a mission. Dodge cars, climb the logs, save the frog. Dead time became focused, urgent time. And what you might not realize is how that spoke to a kid's powerlessness. In my day-to-day life, I couldn't control very much, but in Frogger, I was in total command. Every successful crossing felt like a win against chaos. It was the perfect metaphor for small victories. And that's why these memories are cemented. And they prepared us for the real thrill, playing with someone else. For all of the solo hours, the best memories were shared. This was before online anything. This was couch co-op. You'd plug in that second joystick for a game like Combat, which, by the way, literally had no end. It was the Pac-Man game, a collection of tank and plane dogfights. You picked a maze, a type of projectile, some even bounced, and just went at it. There was no score limit, no final boss. You just played until someone surrendered or your mom called you for dinner. Let me tell you, there was no faster way to test the limits of a friendship than cornering your buddy's tank and holding down fire. This is where Playground Trash Talk was born. It was all laughter and arguing. We were learning how to lose, how to win, how to share a screen in competitive play. Those afternoons weren't about the game. They were about the connection and how playtime was moving from in real life into digital realms. This machine turned a quiet living room into an action-packed arcade. And that appeal wasn't lost on adults either. I'll never forget my elementary school fundraiser for the baseball team. The other kids and parents ran bake sales, sold lemonade, the usual stuff. Me and my dad, we lugged our wood-grained Atari 2600, a tiny TV, and our precious Pac-Man cartridge down to the gym. We set up a little booth and made a sign that said, "Play Pac-Man, 25 cents, and just let it run." We didn't have to yell or beg people to donate. There was instantly a line of kids and parents waiting for their turn. That quarter per play machine made more money for the school that afternoon than all of the cookies and brownies combined. For my dad, it was a no-brainer. Give people what they want. But for me, watching from the side, it was proof. I realized right there, this wasn't just my hobby in the basement. It was something everything wanted in on. It was cool. And this is where I want to pause. We've talked about the games, the specific experience in those cartridges. But to really understand their impact, we need to step back and look at the machine that made it all possible. This brings us to part 2, the console itself. The 2600 brought that arcade feeling home to the comfort of your shag carpet. Think about that. Your family TV stopped being a one-way screen. It became a windshield, a cockpit, a battlefield. That shift was huge. And this is where the system's genius and its limitation lived. As we saw with its games, it never gave you the whole picture. A cluster of squares sort of became a castle. A moving blob was a hero. Your imagination did the heavy lifting. And this limitation meant that you weren't only a player, you were a co-writer in the adventure playing out on screen. Recapturing that pure, uncomplicated fun isn't just nostalgia, it's a necessity. And it leads to a big, scary question we all have now, which is, you want to go back. But the thought of hunting down a nearly 50-year-old console on eBay, dealing with fuzzy RF adapters on a modern TV, that sounds like a chore, not fun. I get it. Here's the good news. That barrier now is almost completely gone. Today, you've got options that would have blown my mind as a youngster. And if you're lucky enough to own a 2600 and want to enjoy the ultimate bragging rights as a retro gamer, then I encourage you to check out Songbird Productions' assortment of original game cartridges. Oh yeah, I'm talking about unopened pieces of gaming history straight from the 80s. I've left a link in the description below so you can see what's available. And if you want the feeling of having that console in your living room, that's where modern re-releases of the hardware come in. Plug-and-play units like the popular Atari Flashback come with games built right in, or even the new Atari 2600 Plus that you can connect via HDMI to modern TVs. And just to be clear, the original 2600 cartridges work on both old consoles and the 2600 Plus as well. Lastly, also check out the preloaded handhelds, such as the Super Pocket Atari Edition, also available from Songbird Productions. All of these hardware options remove the technical headache, so all that's left is to enjoy the games. Feeling a bit lazy and want the simplest path? There are official digital collections on Steam and modern consoles. Dozens of games in one package, ready to play in seconds. No new hardware, no fuss. It's the ultimate antidote to that I don't have time fear. And of course, there's PC emulation. I know, it's a rabbit hole. And for the curious, it's a revelation. It's also how you can dig into the wild world of homebrew games people are still making for this system. The library is bigger now than it ever was in the 80s. And the point is, you can have that 15-minute burst of Pitfall or Frogger on your laptop during a lunch break. The magic is more accessible than it's ever been. And that sounds pretty awesome to me. So why are we still talking about this in 2026? I mean, today we have games that look as good as blockbuster movies. Why go back to blocky 4-bit graphics and primitive sound effects? Firing up a 2600 game today in any form is a direct shot of raw gameplay. No 50-hour open world, no microtransactions or patches. Just you and a clear challenge you can understand in 10 seconds. I don't know about you, but for someone with limited time, that's a gift. It's a complete experience and a shot of innocent fun in a tiny package. But I know the fear. What if I go back and it's bad? What if it ruins the memory? Well, here's my take. Think of it as not just playing a game. You're reconnecting with the younger version of yourself who first played it decades ago. Those basic graphics are a trigger back to a simpler time when the world was a different place. The 2600 is that portal back. So enjoy it not for what it isn't, but for what it created and the impact it had on gaming history and in your life. Look, the Atari 2600 wasn't perfect. The joystick was a thumb killer. The graphics were beyond crude. Some games, like the infamous E.T., were broken right out of the box. But it was a catalyst, and for me, it was a companion in an empty house, a teacher that sparked a love for technology, and proof that magic in new worlds could somehow be fit inside of a little plastic cartridge. That's the legacy. It was the first console that felt like it was truly ours, and now it's waiting for you to revisit in whichever way works for you. So let's hit the comments. What was your favorite game? Tell me, because it's our shared history in those pixels. That's the stuff that doesn't just fade away, but it's part of who we are today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and why not subscribe to my channel, which is always here for a quick retro gaming break whenever you need it. I appreciate your support, since it's the only way that YouTube will highlight my videos and help my channel to grow. Alright my friends, this is the Retro Gaming Boss signing out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.